Welcome to another already overdone episode of Monday Movie Pickup. Swamp Thing. After numerous attempts to get this movie from Amazon, for some reason the shipping date, it kept getting delayed. I don't know what was going on, but I eventually just canceled that order. I reordered it because I kept seeing that people were receiving their copies. And then this one came pretty much right away, but then the case was broken, so I actually returned that one as well, and then finally got a good copy of Swamp Thing. Here it is. This is the newest Blu-ray release of the movie, because this was released by Shout Factory, or Scream Factory, a few years back, but that release has been long out of print. Luckily, now we finally have another way to see the movie, and all these different special features that come with it. The same company did a release of Return of Swamp Thing, and even the 4K edition has some additional special features. I did not know that when I purchased the Blu-ray. I don't know if I'm going to upgrade that Blu-ray just to get the additional 4K special features, but regardless, here it is, Swamp Thing. Very slowly completing not only a Wes Craven collection, but a DC collection. We have here Robot Monsters. So this is the restoration that was done in 3D. One of the most famous cult movies that exists. I think most people recognize the main character from the movie. Now, while it comes with the glasses, this is a 3D Blu-ray, so I believe it works with 3D TVs with those 3D glasses, but there may be a version of the movie that actually has the red and blue 3D instead. I don't have a 3D TV. I don't really intend to watch it in 3D, but this is the newly restored version of the movie, the best way to possibly see it, so a great addition to the collection. We have here Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3. I bought this a few weeks ago. This was overall a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy. I was surprised with some of the directions they decided to go. I liked the darker side of this movie, and the fact that not everybody gets what they want in the end. Overall, just good movie. Here's the Universal Essentials collection of The Big Lebowski. I bought the Jurassic Park release, and now they also announced a release that will be coming for The Sting, and it came from outer space. So I think these sets are really cool. Not that they have any new special features for the movie, not yet anyway. I don't know if The Sting or It Came From Outer Space will have additional special features, but regardless, I like the new cover art that they do. I thought the Jurassic Park set had it was more special with the cover art. This one is it's okay, but pretty generic, but still it's different from the other releases that are out there. And as someone who doesn't really collect the steelbooks, I thought it was cool that we get something that is a little bit different. There's some bowling balls on disc art, which I think is hilariously great. There is the certification of the limited release. There's only 5,000 of these. This is 1,106. There's the famous rug on the back. I thought it was cool that they actually had production stills rather than artwork, because like that Jurassic Park set, they just had like dinosaurs, but I thought it was a little cooler that we actually see some behind the scenes images from the movie. And then here is a booklet just on some different details about the making of the movie. So overall, I think these sets are cool. A bit pricey, a little lame that they're not releasing new special features, but still, if you haven't upgraded these movies to 4K, if you plan to, it's a neat way to do it. Here is Babylon. Not a movie that I was in love with. I had some issues with it. I think it was quite long, and it is an epic movie. I really like the way that they utilize the budget for this movie. Like, we don't really see a lot of big budget movies like this anymore. But I think the problem with the movie was maybe that I just didn't really care for any of the characters. You know, we're following these characters throughout the silent era of film as it transitions into sound, but I just don't really have a lot of connection with these characters, so it's hard to keep up with over a 3-hour movie with a main character that I just didn't really care for. But, you know, I will watch it again. The biggest reason I wanted to get it was that it had 2 discs. We have here Flesh and Fantasy. This is a new Vinegar Syndrome release of a Universal movie. As I said in the episode last week, I've been trying to get some of these movies from the Universal Horror Collection, or at least the ones that Cinemassacre deemed to be Universal Horror based on his own research, and it's all compiled in a list that was posted about 10 years ago. The list is now on my letterbox if you want to find it. This is kind of an example of one that's not really a horror movie at all, but with a title like that, Flesh and Fantasy, it's quite a title. And then here's another one from that horror list. This is The Cat Creeps, a remake of the 20s silent movie that is unfortunately lost. This was also released through Vinegar Syndrome, and I was able to get these slipcovers. I did like the cover art of this one a little more than the one for Flesh and Fantasy, because these faces, I'm not really sure what they were going for with that. I'll have to watch the movie to find out. This is a very short movie, and I don't think it's one that's well received. It's a 58-minute movie. From what I've heard, the other adaptations of this story are better than this one, so that's probably why this one has been neglected for a release for many years. I don't think there was ever even an official DVD release of this movie. I think this is the first time it's really been available in the US on home video. It might have had a VHS release and an on-demand DVD release, but from my knowledge, I don't think this was really widely available until this Vinegar Syndrome release. And then every once in a while we have to talk about some mistakes that I've made with purchasing movies. This happens if you don't do, and I do a lot of research, but if you don't get everything right, you're gonna mess up. I bought Robocop. This is the Arrow release. The director's cut comes with a bunch of special features. I bought this to replace the regular release that had been widely available in stores for many years. Robocop's a movie that's been re-released over and over and over again, but this is a pretty definitive release for the movie, except didn't realize that they actually did release the theatrical cut, but it was a limited edition release. Arrow released Robocop on both 4K and regular Blu-ray, and both of them had a limited edition release that had a bonus disc with the theatrical cut. And as I've said in the past, I want to have every cut of a movie if possible. And I didn't really think the theatrical cut was ever released. I didn't realize that Arrow initially released the movie on a 2-disc set. And one of the ways you can get it is through a steelbook. The steelbook actually has both discs. So this is the steelbook release of the Blu-ray that Arrow released for Robocop. Comes with, this additional booklet, so a lot of the same stuff that you get in the regular release here. But as you can see with this release, as you look inside, it just has one disc, the director's cut. This one actually has if you look on the back here, there's a theatrical cut. So it has both. And as part of Arrow's sale at Barnes & Noble, I got Yokai Monsters, the collection. This has 4 different movies based around Japanese folklore. Very strange movies. Famously, from what I've heard, they're pretty tough to follow along with. Just really wild movies. But this set actually has everything all together. This first case has the first 3 movies. Here's 100 Monsters, Spook Warfare, and Along with Ghosts. So they put 2 of the movies on one disc here. 100 Monsters gets its own. There's some different special features along with that. It looks like there's some commentary, so the commentaries might be pretty helpful in watching these movies, depending on how confusing they can get. And then here is The Great Yokai War, and this gets its own case entirely, own separate disc. I don't know if anyone has ever seen these movies before, if you have any thoughts about them, but all I've ever really heard is that they're wild, they're zany, and I'm into that. I'm very excited to see just how crazy these movies can be. And then keeping along with the John Carpenter movies, this is Ghost of Mars. This is one of the later John Carpenter movies, and this is the release that was done by Mill Creek, but it does include the exact same special features that came with the original Sony Blu-ray release of the movie. The Sony Blu-ray release was done many years prior, and it's out of print, but the Mill Creek one is the exact same disc. Mill Creek has been kind of helpful with that, with a lot of movies that sort of went out of print or weren't being produced anymore. In the UK, there is an Indicator series release of Ghost of Mars that has even more special features, but given that that's a Region B release, I haven't thought about getting it. Here is Laura. So this is another Vincent Price movie. Of course, he's not the lead of this film, but this is a classic Hollywood movie, and I've been trying to get some more Vincent Price movies to eventually. I'd like to see every Vincent Price movie. I mean, he starred in over 120 different movies, but I would love to try to conquer all of them at some point. And now we're just going through some movies that have been in my shopping list for many years. Here's American Movie. This is a movie that I saw when I was in high school. I haven't seen the movie again since, but I remember really enjoying it. And the movie was finally released on Blu-ray very recently. And I actually should be getting a copy of the VHS Coven. Or Coven, because Coven sounds like Oven Man. See, I remember the movie pretty well. We have here the original Scarface from Universal. I did not know that Boris Karloff was in the original movie. That is news to me, but of course I've never seen the movie. It actually comes with both cuts. There's a censored version, the one that was shown in select theaters at the time. They changed the ending, but they had the original cut as well. So I think it's great that they kept both in one set. And it's about time I see this. I think I only saw I almost called it the original, the 80s Scarface. I think I only ever saw that one time. So it's about time I revisit that movie, but I think I'm going to see the one that started it all before I get to that one. Honestly, I don't even know how much these two movies have in common. Here is Never Sleep Again. This is the Elm Street documentary. It's a 2-disc set. I've had this sitting on my list for way too long. I don't know if it's out of print, but the price for it was starting to go up, and it was saying it was sold out. So I went ahead and found it on eBay, made sure I got it before it possibly was going out of print. I don't know if anybody else has seen that or if anybody has any information about that. Finally finishing the Shaft collection. I don't know why, but this movie was like way too expensive for the longest time, but it was finally, I don't know if they got it restocked or what, but this is the Shaft from 2000. Of course, there was another Shaft with Samuel Jackson released in 2019 called Shaft, all of which is based on a 70s movie called Shaft. I own all the other Shaft movies because there was originally a trilogy, and there's also a Shaft release from Criterion I've yet to get. But then they had these two other Shaft movies. Shaft, and Shaft. Just, you know, a lot of variation with that title there. It's going to look fun on a shelf when I have all these different Shaft movies all by each other, and every single one of them is, in fact, a different movie. But, what is your favorite Shaft movie? Is it Shaft, or do you like Shaft a little more? And then here is The People vs. George Lucas. This movie is, like, widely available on YouTube. Has been for many years. I don't know the legality about that, but this is actually the oldest thing that was on my Amazon list. It's going back all the way to 2014. I just never bought the movie because I had already seen it a few times. I really liked the movie in high school, but revisiting it recently, it doesn't hold up. If anything, it just shows how obnoxious the Star Wars culture is, which is kind of the point of the documentary, but it's also a little outdated. Like, I think they should make a sequel based on the sequel trilogy and the response to that, and maybe go back to some of the people they interviewed for this movie to see, as they've aged, if their thoughts on Star Wars have calmed down or if they have a different opinion about it. There's a Blu-ray release in Germany that I believe has more special features, but I have yet to confirm if that's even region free. I don't know. And then we're not done yet. I do have Shawscope. Yep, this is volume 2. I already own volume 1, and I bought this quite a while ago when it was, I believe, 50% off on Amazon. It was for a very good price. And just nice to see all of these different Shaw Brothers movies finally get released on Blu-ray in the United States. Between this set and all of the Bruce Lee releases that have been going on and all the Jackie Chan sets that have been released, it is a great time for martial arts kung fu movies. Otherwise, that's Shawscope. That's everything this week, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching the video, and special shout out to Lauren, Anthony, Anna, Kirsten, Spencer, Lucas, Ryan, and Robert for the support on Patreon. By joining my Patreon, you can get exclusive videos and blogs, and for only $7, you can request your own movie review. I hope you stick around, Cinephile, and have a happy, productive day.